Rise and shine, beloved great grand rising. Come on in. This is Ilona Sanders. This is Spiritual Success TV Live, and we're lighting the way to help you create a clear path forward on your personal and spiritual development journey. With that being said, let me just pull this up on Facebook and make sure we're live over there, and we're going to dive right in. All right, here we go. There we go. We're here. Let me throw a comment up here to get the comment section going, and we're going to be ready. All right. With that being said, beloved, let's dive right in. I'm so excited about where we are going today because most people are trying to become someone. But what if you've been chasing who you already are? Let that sink in. Come on, take a good healing deep breath in. Exhale. Ground yourself. And we are ready to go. Okay, again, what if you have been chasing the person you think you should become, but in truth, you already are? This is dimension number 2 on the spiritual success life path. Dimension number 2 is all about awakening. We covered in good ground for 4 weeks, dimension 1, awareness, and we shifted from being able to see a pattern to owning the pattern, and then moving to the maturity of awareness, which is responding versus reaction. And so we also talked about how your life is a mirror. So today we want to ground down even deeper today, and we want to look at awakening, right? And I want you to write this in your notes because I want you to remember this. You are not trying to become anything. What is happening is that you are remembering. I want you to settle in there and really breathe that in, because everything that we are striving for is already within. And we've talked about this many times before, right? So what awakening is a holy interruption. So I know you all have been talking about awakening, and this is not the quote unquote a geopolitical term of being woke. That's a bunch of nonsense. Listen, the whole world is awakening. Great grand rising, come on in. Let me know that you're here today. Give me a great grand rising. All right. So what's happening is that the whole world is awakening. Grand rising, Lisa. Grand rising, Reese. The whole world is awakening. And in this awakening that we are in, it is a holy interruption. It is a holy interruption of our conscious awareness. So in other words, I want you to repeat after me. I'm breaking the spell of unconscious living. Come on. I'm breaking the spell. We're going to go deep today. I'm breaking the spell of unconscious living. This is the moment when truth begins to rise louder than programming. And we've talked about that a lot. The preconditioning, the pre-programming from the 3D realm, from society, from associations, from family, right? It's when you become conscious that you're going to break this spell of pre-programming from the matrix. You're breaking the spell. It's when the inner self, your God self, starts rising higher and speaking louder than all the noise around you. Your inner self, your true self, your deeper self starts pulling you forward. I want us to just rest there for a moment. Rest here for a moment. because the objective is to move us in this segment. The whole objective is to move us from striving identity to remembered identity. Let me tell you what I mean by remembered identity, which is your true identity. I opened up with saying many people are chasing who they think they should be, not realizing that they need to remember who they already are. When we talk about remembering, beloved, I want you to hear this, because this is a profound truth. Everything that you need to achieve what you want to achieve, you already are that. The grammar might not flow so correctly, but you will get it. You already are that. I am that I am. Come on, put that in. Put that in the comments. Y'all talk back to me. I want you to feel this. I want to take my time because I want us to activate today. I want you to feel I am that I am. I want you to start feeling the inward God consciousness, because the objective, again, is to move from striving identity, running, chasing. I'm not there. I don't have it. Striving identity to remembered identity. Yes, Reese. I feel that, and I feel that if we ground there, if we just take a moment and ground there, right? More is caught than taught. More is caught than taught. If we take a moment to activate, I am that I am, as the writer of Exodus says, I will be who I will be whenever I need to be it, right? If we could ground ourselves in there today, that's 80% of what we need to accomplish. I am that I am. So we want to leave striving identity into remembered identity. You have to allow yourself to remember, because every revelation, every insight, every aha moment is you remembering. I want you to hear this. That is nothing foreign coming from someplace else. It is coming from deep within. It is your God self coming to the ascendancy, awakening within you. I want to say that differently, because the God self is not sleep. The conscious self is sleep. So it is coming out of that unconscious state of sleeping, and you start remembering. Every time you feel yourself growing, yes, Lisa, I am that I am. Every time you feel yourself growing, expanding, maturing, you're remembering. So again, back to the opening statement, I'm so excited, I'm getting ready to run. What if you're chasing who you already are, but you just won't allow yourself to realize it? So I want to shift us in this segment of dimension number 2, awakening. I want to shift us from external seeking into internal activation. The moment we stop striving and seeking externally is the moment you're going to allow your true identity, your true power, and your sovereignty to be activated. This dimension is shifting you from separation to oneness. And I don't want to take that lightly. Oneness with God, with the God self, right? There is no separation. I'm taking my time because, beloved, if you can really embody these truths, that we're not striving, we're remembering. If you can have faith and confidence in who you already are, believing that what you are desiring, you're already that. Can y'all play with me for a moment? Play in terms of having fun with this. Can you type in the chats, I'm already that? You're that centenarian millionaire, the centimillionaire, 100 million and more. You're the billionaire. You're the happily married. You have a beautiful family relationship. You're at peace. You're doing what you've been sent here to do, right? You're impacting, you're blessing, you're using your gifts and your power. Come on and say, I am already that. That's who I am. Be bold and declare something today. And we want to hold it and anchor it until our body can feel the affirmation, the confirmation, and the prayerformation of, why did I just inherit $100 million? Why did $100 million come into my timeline? Why did the perfect mate, the perfect spouse, run right into me? Why formation? I know y'all have heard that, right? Come on, I want you to declare something. I'm already that. The person that I'm seeking, I'm already that. So I don't have to do that. We want to shift out of the whole thriving culture and come into what is necessary for us to be who we need to be in this season, right? So let's look at this. We're breaking this illusion of becoming. Conditioned identity versus true identity. Conditioned identity is everything you have conditioned yourself to be, to think, to fear, to act and behave like. Conditioned identity. I'm moving away from that today, right? Conditioning is being grounded in family identity, but that family identity is not producing any fruit. Let that sink in. And we love to say, family identity, country identity, city identity, but it's not producing any fruit. We got to shift that, right? I'm already everything I want and need to be. I'm no longer allowing distractions to deter me from walking in my path. I love that. Can we just take a moment and just really breathe that in and agree with Reese? I agree with that 100% because I am that as well. Come on, y'all. If I don't do anything else, I want to activate us where we move forward into who we already are. But the key here is allowing yourself to remember. When you allow yourself to remember, number one, then number two, you have to allow yourself to receive. You have to allow yourself to receive what you already have. That is it in a nutshell. I don't even want to go through the rest of the lesson today because I want us to land in power. I want us to land in releasing that conditioned reality, that conditioned identity, and remember, I already have everything I want and need, right? To be who I am. No longer allowing distractions to detour me from my life path. This is how you know you've embodied it. What do I always say? You know you've embodied it when you can get the results of it. When you can get the results of that. So I want us, I'm taking my arms and just hugging the community today because I want us to shift from thinking about it. I shared this with my daughter the other day because you cannot think, you cannot meditate, you cannot journal your way into transformation. You must act your way. The thinking, the believing, the awareness, of course, that's the foundation, but that's abstract. You can journal, you can meditate, you could breathe, you could see, you could feel, you can sense, but until you act, until the body gets involved, we don't start moving what needs to be moved and aligning what needs to be aligned. So put that in your notes. I must act my way into transformation. Act meaning action. I must take action to move into transformation. And that's the thing we want to break today. We want to move from observing, from seeing, to owning, right? To awakening and remembering. The reason why you have that desire, you want the multi-millions, you want the family, you want the ownership of resources, it's because what you're supposed to do with that in this dimension. I feel a strong grounding and a strong activation today. No more excuses. No more negotiating with yourself. No more. It's time now to release the illusion of becoming. That is the conditioned identity where you're striving. We want to land in our true identity, where we have dominion over everything in this 3D realm. Number 2, I'm going to end with this segment right here. You want to move from performance-based living to spiritual success living. What is that, Dr. E? You don't have to perform for anyone. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You don't have to show yourself in a way that you think will be acceptable or suitable to anyone. You don't have to do any of that. You don't have to perform. I was sharing with a client on yesterday, and we were talking about how sometimes you can be in environments and the culture of that environment is contrary to your divine gifting and your calling. And so what happens when you're locked into environments like that, and you've heard me speak to this, how I was in a culture that prized preaching and hooping above any of the other gifts, right? And that's not even a gift. That's just a learned skill. Y'all better talk back to me. It was all about getting the people to an emotional high, giving them a gospel, giving them that emotional high. Watch this, because this is important. And I'm in this environment, in this culture, that is all about hooping and hollering and getting people on their feet and just what we would call wrecking the church, where everybody's running, jumping, screaming, right? We prize that above all other gifting. Now watch this. I'm in this environment, but my primary gifting, my purpose, and the results that I'm here to initiate is not about an emotional high or just an injection of energy. My result and my purpose as a teacher, which is my primary gifting, is to give you the result of being able to change your life, having something tangible that you can hold on to, that you can work, and your life change. I would get disturbed when I would see week after week, year after year, nobody's changing. Nobody's growing. We're high. We're shouting. We're praising. Man, the Spirit of the Lord came in. Y'all remember this. Thank God it did what it did, because we needed that emotional release. I'm not discounting that. But when that was over, many people didn't even make it to the parking lot before they settled back in to their anchored reality, right? Before they settled right back in to being depressed, to being miserable. I want you to hear this, because this is so important, especially if your environment or you have associations or you're a part of a culture that you never quite really fit into, but you tried to make yourself fit in. And so over the years, what did I do? I taught myself and trained myself how to hoop, how to holler, how to get folks up on their feet, right? I cultivated and grew my anointing, increased my anointing. But then it came to a place one day when I realized I didn't want that. I want my own anointing, my own grace, right? And so when we come to that place, that's when your real power, what matters, what you do after. I remember preaching a whole revival series on what happens after the revival. Yes, Reese. What do you have that you can take away other than, oh my God, God really came in today. Oh, the presence of the Lord was with us today. Oh my God, the church was in pandemonium. That's a good feeling, and it serves its place. But what do you do with that to make your life change, to grow, to become better? So we want to move from performance-based living to spiritual success living when you come to your divine inner self and you allow your true gifting. So in that environment, when I finally allowed the teacher in me to come to the forefront, everybody was blessed. I was blessed. Everybody was blessed. Watch this. The ministry increased. The ministry evolved. We established Bible schools. We established a hub for the organization where I was training the elders and the ministers who were going up for their catechism to be ordained. You couldn't even be ordained if you didn't come through my classes. What's that? I became financially stable and started thriving financially. Doors began to open up all over the country. Why? Because I settled in my gifting, what we call your wealth attractors, right? I settled in that. So we don't want to be performing while I was trying to adapt to that culture. And remember, we don't waste nothing. It served its purpose, right? But you want to be able to use your gifting for what you're here to use it in. And I have to stress this before we go today. This is why we have to tap in and we start waking up. Because everything that you are, you have to remember. You have to remember. You have to remember who you are. How do you remember, Dr. E? You start anchoring and settling yourself by tapping in, hearing, seeing, sensing. How I used to teach in the School of the Prophets: look to see in the spirit, listen to hear, sense to feel. What is your heart truly saying? What is your heart truly after, beloved? This is how you start remembering. There's a reason you have a desire. If you are the one that says, oh my gosh, why did I just inherit $100 million? Rather, it was gradually or all at once. If that is your desire, there's a reason why you want that. Watch this. And the reason cannot be for comparison. So I can finally look like everybody else. I could wear the designer labels like everybody else. You know, wealth whispers, debt screams. I want you to write that down. True wealth whispers. You don't have to wear designer logos to know that you are wealthy, because you're not proving anything to anyone. All right? This is why, beloved, striving eventually feels exhausting. It feels exhausting because you're chasing the elusive carrot on the stick. You keep running and trying to chase something, judging yourself, coming down on yourself. but you're not here. You're here to tap into the God within, your God self. Let's breathe, beloved. Let's exhale. We are approaching, or we are in the spring season. It is time to spring forth. For those of us in the Christian community, we are approaching the resurrection season. I want you to allow your God self to resurrect. I want you to allow your God self to arise and start remembering who you truly are, and start remembering the grace that have been given to you to be who you are in this season, right? To be who you are in this season. All right? So take another deep breath in. Let's sow a $33 seed today. Let's breathe that in. A $33 seed. And you know all the ways. You can go to ilonasanders.com and sow a seed. And if you are ready and you want to have a private session, go to ilonasanders.com/schedule and schedule your private session. All right. And I look forward to seeing you there. All right, lovelies, I'm going to release you with many blessings until our next Spiritual Success Live connection. Please like this video, share it on your timeline. Let's boost the algorithm. Bye for now.